Hiya fishy folks, and welcome back to Michael's Fish Room. Today, an epic showdown. Grab yourself a healthy snack and beverage. Stand by. Welcome back to the channel, fishy folks. Today we're going to be doing a subscriber request, a showdown between a sponge filter and a box filter. Now, if you're a subscriber to the channel, thank you so much. You've probably already seen my videos on sponge filters basics and box filter basics. But if you haven't, why don't you consider subscribing right now so you get notified if I release a new video, and then go searching for the sponge filter video I've recently done. And then, I don't know, probably a long time ago, I did a box filter video and people were asking me questions about them when I had them in all my tanks. As you probably know, in all of my 60 breeding tanks, I have these Aquarium Co Op sponge filters. They are my favorite filter. I'm going to go over the hows and whys of both filters in a little bit more specifics later in the video, but first I just want to talk a little bit general. Sponge filters come in many shapes and sizes. Again, this is an Aquarium Co Op sponge filter. Other brands you can get. I happen to like the Aquarium Co Op ones because the porosity of the filter, it's a very coarse sponge, so it holds more detritus before I have to clean it, and I'm lazy. But, you know, here's another sponge filter. This is the typical foam sponge filter you get. In fact, if you go on my website, michaelsfishroom.com, and buy a seeded sponge filter, the large size, which is all I have in stock, this is what you get. And they come pre-seeded, so you can instant cycle a tank. But some other sponge filters, this is what I call a China sponge filter. Again, I don't mean to insult anyone. In fact, I don't really care if I do, but these are pretty popular, and they're great for instant cycling your tank as well, because you can take one of these sponges off, put it on a new filter, put it in a new tank, and boom, instant cycle. But these work the same way as all the other sponge filters. Here's another one where they try to increase the size of biological filtration, which really isn't needed. Not a big fan of this one because it comes apart too easy. So now, box filters also come in many shapes and sizes. Here's probably one of the most popular ones. It's a corner sponge filter. But they also come like this, with this extra lift tube to create extra lift. And then there's this ginormous one which you can buy at Gemco, which holds a lot of media. Alright, so what are the pros and cons? Well, first let's talk about sponge filters, my favorite filter. The biggest pro for me is they're cheap. I'm cheap, they're cheap, we're friends. You know, it's good stuff. They're easy to maintain. The only thing you have to do is clean them, and I've done a video on how to clean sponge filters, link up here. Speaking of links, most of the things I'm going to talk about, there will be links down below, so click on them, buy stuff, don't buy stuff. You know, if you want to support the channel without clicking that link, buy a t-shirt, teespring.com, or buy lots of fish. Anywho, sponge filters, easy to maintain. To clean them, it's very simple. You take this part off, there's your sponge in clean water. When this squeezes clean, you put it back, you put this back on, you hook your Airline up, boom, you're done. How does a sponge filter work? It's pretty simple. This is just a lift tube, but you just hook an Airline up to this nipple, and then that creates bubbles through the air stone. This is a Never Clog air stone from Ziss, and that creates lift, which creates suction, and water flows through. And that flow is what helps the beneficial bacteria colonize and thrive. It also sucks up detritus in the water, dirt, detritus, whatever you want to call it, poop, and that gets sucked to the sponge. I like that because then the fry that I'm breeding, whether it's guppy fry or pleco fry, will eat some of that detritus, so they have like an all-day smorgasbord, if you will. Box filters work the same. This is one that's all ready to go if I were to use it. It's got floss on top, which is great for mechanical filtration. Then it's got some lava rock and some pebbles, which are great for beneficial bacteria. Again, you might notice no chemical filtration. I don't use it. I don't need it. I don't think it's necessary. So let's just talk about the box filter again. This is one that's actually broken. It's got a hole in the bottom, but I saved it for this video. So there's an Airline that you connect to this nipple. And what that does, that sends bubbles here, which come out here, which cause suction through here. And so when suction comes through these vents up top, the water first goes through the mechanical filtration, which is this polyfill. I love polyfill. Again, it's cheap, it's easy to maintain, it's easy to obtain as well. So it goes through the polyfill, which cleans the water. Then it goes through the mechanical filtration, which is the lava rock. And let me just talk about lava rock real quick in case you're not familiar with it. I actually learned about lava rock from the king himself, Joey, about 100 years ago. But what I like about lava rock is it's cheap. There's a theme here. I'm cheap, it's cheap, you know. But all these little nooks and crannies in the lava rock are great spaces for the beneficial bacteria to grow. It's not that heavy, so we have those other little pebbles in there to help with the buoyancy, to help it sink when you put it in the tank and it has air going through it. We don't want it to float. And so once again, the air or the water flows through the mechanical filtration, gets clean, then flows through the mechanical filtration, gets healthy, I guess, and then flows up. Now to clean one of these, very easy. You just take this off. You take your polyfill. I'm fine. You can either rinse it in you know, tank water, or you can throw it away and use new. You never have to replace the lava rock. You never have to replace anything else. All right. So the pros of both filters. Both of them are cheap. $5, $6, $10 max for one of these, no problem. Easy to set up. All you need is some Airline and an air pump. Boom, you're done. I recommend a air stone for these, but you don't really need one. Same thing with these. There are some of these that you can add an air stone. You don't really need one, but if you have one, great. So cheap, easy to install, and lastly, easy to maintain. We talked about cleaning both of them, not a big deal. Oh, there's one more besides easy to maintain. No moving parts. Meaning there's no motor to break, there's no wires, there's nothing. It's simple. Alright, let's talk about the cons of both. First, we'll talk about sponge filter. Not great at mechanical filtration. Average, but not great. If you're really looking for crystal clear water, this isn't going to do it for you. Some people might say no chemical filtration is a negative. I don't really care, so yeah. Really the only negative for me for one of these is not great mechanical filtration. But I don't care in my fish room because I don't care if the water looks dirty, I know it's not. Okay, these are much better at mechanical because of this. But another negative might be harder to maintain because you have to take this out and either clean it or replace it. Eventually you will have to replace it. You should never ever have to replace a sponge unless it gets contaminated. That's really it. There's really no other negatives than not the best at mechanical filtration. Unless you don't have an air pump. But I would say 90% of fish keepers have an air pump for their tanks because they like the bubbles. So box filters come in a bunch of different sizes. They have, you know, the corner one, like I said. Here's one with an extra lift tube just to deflect or change the flow of the bubbles. Here's a big one, like I said. Same thing with sponge filters. You know, this is the Aquarium Co Op version, which I really love. But like on my website, if you buy a seated sponge filter, you're going to get a large sponge filter like this. It's got foam. You know, it's got the nipple. I'm fine. And it's big. That's what you get on my website. But also they have, you know, they have these which have extra mechanical filtration. And here I mean biological filtration. I don't really know why you need it. And then the ever popular China filter. This is the original China filter. And again, I don't care if that bothers you because I'm not politically correct. One of the great things about these is there's two sponges. So if you have one of these in a tank and you want to start another tank, buy another one of these filters, pop one of these sponges, the used stinky dirty ones, put it on the new one of these, put that in the new tank, boom, instant cycle. There's a video up here about instant cycle, very popular video. But these also have their negatives. These suction cups last 6 months at most. These are very fine, so they clog very easily. That's why traditional sponge filters in my mind are the best. I do like box filters, but for me they're a little bit more time to maintain, because you have to actually take this off, take the whole thing out, clean it. It's just more work than I need. Sponge filters for me win. For you, I don't really know. Let me know down in the comments below if you prefer a sponge filter or a box filter and why. I would really appreciate that. If you guys have other subscriber requests, also let me know. I will try to do them. If you make a request for something I have no knowledge of, I will not pretend. I will not do it. So don't ask me about rainbow fish, or discus, or piranha, or cichlids, because I don't do that stuff. Don't ask me about canister filters. I've never, ever had a canister filter in my house. However, breeding for profit, guppies, plecos, that kind of stuff, do it yourself, DIY, that stuff I know. All right, folks. If you're not a subscriber, like I said, please consider subscribing. Check out my website, michaelsfishroom.com. Thanks so much for watching. Have a spectacular day. I'm gonna go, no, I'm not. All right, fish folks, today we're gonna do a subscriber request. I'm fine. Little morning phlegm. Welcome back, fish. That's fishy folks for people that don't have mush mouth like me. And then I'll put a link for the box video filter. Box video filter. What the hell?